Pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. Here's what's trending on today's show. HBCU basketball success in postseason and NCAA tournaments. SWAC basketball tournament champions were crowned last Saturday. And Landon Bussie leaves Alcorn State. I'm sure it's going to be some interesting discussion on all three topics. As you can see, the panel is here. Good morning and good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Coach Pettaway, have you filled out a bracket this year?
Yeah, I always fill one out. I do. My wife and I, we compete, and so I already feel I'm okay. So I got a couple losses, but good thing about it, I didn't extend them too far in the bracket, so I feel good.
Yeah, well, it's March Madness, or as I would say, madness in March.
Yep.
Let's kind of get right into it. Let me introduce our guest coming up on today's show. I didn't do that. Apologize for that. Coach Kevin Johnson, men's basketball coach at Southern University. He'll join us in hour number 2. Also joining us, Coach Terrence Graves, Southern University football coach, to kind of preview, get his thoughts on spring football coming up shortly for Southern University. Also, any other news that he wishes to relate to us. I know that they're going to be looking to add some staff additions. So Coach Graves, Coach Johnson joins us on today's Carlos Brown Show. For HBCU basketball success in postseason tournaments, where do we start? Southern University, Texas Southern, Howard, Alabama A&M, I believe, starts today, WNIT.
Yep.
But specifically for Southern University, they started off on the women's side, of course, defeating Alcorn State last Saturday, 64-44. So congratulations to Coach Fonchez and his staff. And Charles, I got an anonymous text message that said we didn't need motivation, but we did, because we heard it on the show about the success that Alcorn State had against Southern University women. Not that they needed any motivation because they're playing in the championship, but a tough zone that Southern University applied defensively. And defensively, that's where this team laid their hat on all season. But, congratulations to Southern University. Also to Alcorn State for making it to the championship round, championship game 2 years in a row, Charles.
I tip my hat to the Lady Jaguars. I'm going to give it to them. They won this game from the second quarter on. 20-20 at the end of the first quarter, and then Southern went zone, and that was it. We couldn't throw the ball in the river. And Nate Kilbert said all year, if I'm going to play against the Lady Braves, I'm going to play a zone. He said that. And we had no answers, and Southern University hit shots, and offensively, we couldn't make shots. Too many turnovers, and that was kind of a problem off and on throughout the course of the year. So it was just a case of Southern University just taking it to us. We had no response, and you have to tip your hat to the Southern University Lady Jaguars. And for the Lady Braves, second straight trip to the SWAC championship game, second straight trip coming up empty. And now we got to rebuild because a lot of these players, these veterans, the Destiny Browns and the Kaylin Watkins and the Cheathams of the world may not be back, especially if this new ruling kicks in to where if you went JUCO, you might have another year, but there's still some gray area with that. But this Lady Braves team will change. But we had our 2-year window to try to get it done, and we didn't. But you got to tip your hat to the Lady Jaguars. They got it done defensively, as you mentioned. They laid it down, and we just couldn't make shots. So congratulations to Southern University and the postseason run that they had, and winning the SWAC championship as well.
Yeah, Coach Pettaway, Coach Funches sent me a text message here He responded back to me. I said, "Congratulations on winning the tournament championship," and he said, "Yes, that was important because we know how you feel about winning the regular season championship. So we did both regular season championship and the swag tournament, Coach Pettaway."
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a great job, man. I was so proud of the way the tournament went. I liked the venue. I liked the crowds that they had, and then to watch all the different teams compete. That was just special, man. I really enjoyed that. And Coach Funches and his ladies ought to be commended for the job that they did by winning the SWAC tournament, and then going on to the NC2A and winning that first game in there. And then of course, they ran up against a juggernaut in UCLA. But hats off to them. They represent SWAC well. They represented the Jag Nation well, and I'm proud of Coach Funches and his lady Jag.
And guys, it's a lot of firsts, a lot of emotions when you win a type game, defeating Alcorn State 64-44 to win the SWAC tournament championships. I was messing with Wheeler throughout the week. Got to get those new contracts ready, extensions, bonuses, all things considered.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the Jaguars went on to beat California San Diego 68-56. Now, here's the first. A lot of people are talking about it. First, Southern University women's basketball win in the NCAA tournament. Also, it has been put out there that Southern could be the first school, or it's the first school that had a men's and women team win a first round game. You remember Georgia Tech when Coach Joe was coaching. Also, you look at the success. Texas Southern gets a victory. Howard. So there has been success in the postseason. Now, how do you build on that? Well, we're still going to talk about this, but we're not going to go into too much detail. Now is the perfect time that you have some success, Coach Pettaway. What do? Now, as a conference, we kind of get ourselves in a position where we can, get a higher seeding. And I get it. Southern women's basketball program, what they're going to bring to the conference now, the women's tournament, they're going to get some financial kickback, So that's two games being played in the NCAA tournament. But I surely wish as a conference, we all get together and say, look, let's cut down on some of those guarantee games. Let's put on this schedule some of those games like Alabama State. We can't forget about them winning in their first round against St. Francis, those type of teams.
Right.
And so when you see them in the preseason, it helps you when you see them in the postseason, because we're still going to be looking at a 16 bid across the board in the play-in. But it's a lot to build on, guys, what they've done in this postseason.
Right, because one of the things that I looked at when they did the bracket, teams in our area that I'm familiar with, like they gave Lipscomb a 14 seed. Charles, I don't know if you noticed that, but Lipscomb is a team that a lot of the SWAC schools play, and if they can get a 14 seed with their schedule, we should be able to get a 14 seed. I know on the women's side, I think Norfolk State's women, they didn't go in as a 16 seed. I think they went in higher. I had that information, but I had to change locations and I left it. But I know for a fact Norfolk State's women are not a 16 seed. They had a great regular season. They did something similar to what Alabama A&M women did. They beat some non-conference opponents in the preseason. And so with their strength of schedule, that bumped them up. And I think they play today sometime. But as a conference, that's something that we can look at. You play more regional games. You play you don't jump on all those Power 5 schools because you're not going to get those quad one wins. So you might as well drop down and get some of the other wins and have your non-conference schedule a little bit better. You know, don't just load it. Yeah. Don't load it. Just get a mixture, man. And I think you will see that some of the men's team can move up in terms of the seeding that they have.
But it's easier on the women's side because, you know, the women's game guarantee-wise not paying that much. And, you know, so it's easier to drop down and play the quad 2 schools because they're giving out pretty much about the same amount of money as the quad 1 schools on the women's side. There's not too much of a difference. Yeah, but on the men's side, you know, it's pretty much a huge difference. But, you know, like we said, you know, until the conference makes a concerted effort, you know, to try to work out a formula that's going to be conducive for everybody, then, you know, everybody's going to go for themselves and, you know, take care of their particular needs of their individual schools as opposed to the other way around.
Well, comments are flowing in. Ralph said basically because of different budgets, it's hard for some of the schools to give up those money gains. But I think we can come to a happy medium. You know. Here we go. Carlos Brown disagree. You got it wrong. The playing game was designed for HBCUs to make money in the tournament. Bama State just brought $4.2 million to the SWAC. Well, I respectfully disagree with you because you disagreed with me. How about that? Here, we're gonna have to come. We're gonna have to come down off of that. You know, where can we find a balance? We've talked about it before on this show. We even got Wheeler to admit, yeah, there should be some balance. You know, let's work on it in a 4 or 5 year frame. You know,
but like I said, the conference, Carlos, has to pitch in. If they would help subsidize some of these other schools to where they wouldn't have to play as many, you know, then it would really go a long way in terms of improving the lot of the conference. You know, so if the commissioner's office was subsidized, I'm gonna throw, let's say Valley, you know, so that Valley wouldn't have to play 11 guarantees. Maybe they could cut that down to 7. You know, if the conference could subsidize them a little bit in terms of helping them with those dollars that they will be missing by playing 11 guarantees, you know, then they could play a more competitive type schedule that's going to help boost the RPI of the entire conference, you know, as opposed to going out and getting their head beat in, you know, for the payday. You know, and not to say that they got to give them the full amount or anything like that. Just help them out, you know. Right. And if they're willing to do that for some of the schools so that they don't have to play as many guarantee games, then they can play some of these other schools and possibly get some wins and help the conference RPI overall.
Right. Now, Wheeler, you know there's a blueprint for that. Conference USA. When UAB when they were in Conference USA, I know for a fact that their conference office helped those schools to get more home games. See, they did it. They gave them extra money because we got extra money to go play them because their conference office stepped in and they wanted them to build up home schedules so that they can raise the RPI of the conference, and it was successful. It was successful.
And we got to buy in. We just got to buy in. We got to buy in.
Right. The blueprint is there. Charles, I see you shaking. Yeah, I don't think the SWAC is in a position to do that, Charles, but what I'm saying is it has and can be done.
You know, but it can be done. But I think in good shape financially, Coach Pettaway. They're talking about the SWAC being in great shape financially. You know, I've heard the commissioner talk about that, you know, several times, you know. So, I mean, you know, to me, why not? You know, you got to make that sacrifice at some point in time, you know, for the good of all the schools in the conference, if that's the direction that you want to go.
Well, I think we need to look at something else too, and we need to look at the possibility of the tournament expanding. If the tournament expands, then we're definitely going to be, it's going to be even more of a challenge to get out of that play-in if the tournament expands. And so that's number one. We got to look down the road because there is talk of the tournament expanding. Number two, the commissioner was over the NCAA basketball committee during his tenure over the last few years. I think he termed out. So he's talked about what it takes to get out of that situation. At the same time, I've heard coaches in this league, including our former coach, talk about the fact that he would prefer the play-in route. And I think some other coaches probably, if you talk to them in their living room right now and you say, Coach, would you rather to go to Dayton or would you rather play Auburn right off the bat? They probably would say the play-in game. And so I think that's the other thing that you're fighting. And then, of course, the athletic director's perspective, you got a VP of finance to report to, and you got to get some of these guaranteed games in. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of balls to juggle to make it work. I think we saw the success.
In schools, Charles, all of them did not go to the play-in game as a 16 seed. Yeah, so you can play in that first four, as a 14 or what have you. You don't necessarily have to play in that first four as a 16 seed. So I don't see any reason why it can't be worked on, and still accomplish both goals, pretty much simultaneously.
I think it's just going to take.
You had 11 versus 11 in the first four. You had 11 versus 11. Yeah.
But to me, Carlos, you've experienced this when Southern played Georgia Tech. I experienced this in 1999 when we took on Stanford going out to Seattle. I think we were 11 seed or 12 seed. We were 23-7 that year overall. It can be done, but it's going to take a spectacular non-conference season in which you have to win your share. And then at the same time, the rest of the conference has to do their part in winning some of those games to elevate the conference. I think the SEC had every team in the big dance. Every team. I mean, that's unheard of. But the SEC was good in non-conference. And when you played each other in conference, it just kind of balanced out. We have to do kind of the same thing. But we got to win some of these games collectively, each school, 2 to 3 games a year in non-conference against those quad 2 teams in non-conference. Once we get into January, it's already done. It's already done. And, we go on 0-11, 0-12, 1-12. And Carlos, you say, what's the point of the regular season and all of that? And then we wind up going to Dayton. And it was a good run by Alabama State. But I'm old-fashioned. I like to see us get an 11 seed, put Alabama State, put Southern up against, a 4 seed or a 5 seed. I'll take my chances with that. But it's a very tough road when you go through Dayton. And I think I would like to get us out of that. But it's going to take collectively. It's just not going to take one school or two. It's going to take all 12 schools collectively in the spring meetings, the ADs and presidents and chancellors putting their heads together and say, you know what? I don't want to be in Dayton. I want us to get the highest seed possible. The commissioner knows what it takes because he was over the committee for a period of time. Let's listen to him. Let's take his advice. He's all about data. He knows what it takes. And let's see if we can pull that off.
Well, I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath because the blueprint's out there. You know what needs to be done. You're either going to do it or you're not. Yeah. And so, I'm personally not going to complain anymore about, the play-in games because we know how. And it's going to take some time to get it done, but we need to start now. And everybody Carlos, needs to get to the table.
As Charles stated, it'd probably be easier to get the ADs and the commissioner and them on board. But like he just stated, the VPs of finance and all them guys at those individual schools, the presidents, that's where the head knocking pretty much comes in. They don't understand the concept. They ain't trying to hear your rationale behind what it is that you're trying to do. They just see the end result, the dollars and cents, and they want you to go out there and bring that money in. We're loaning you guys money to get the season started, to get your year started, that sort of thing. We need return on the investment. I ain't trying to hear all that other nonsense you guys are talking about concerning the 14th seed and the 13th seed and all that sort of thing. They ain't trying to hear that.
Well, let's see. Can we go to chat room? Oh, I love. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll read it over here. Again, the bottom line is money. Playing 2 or more games each year. This is business first. We then complain about money games. Because what the heck else will we pay for the non-revenue sports? Well, I think we have to come to a medium. I'm a moderate politically, but who cares about politics, huh? Who cares about politics? This postseason has been successful. We're all in agreement with that.
Oh yeah.
We also know that athletics now it's a business model, but there are some principles we still can't give up. The simple question is, do we want to continue to be in the play-in game? All in favor of that, say aye. Okay. Those who believe that we can kind of do better as a conference, and those that need help, let's give them the extra help. Willa, Coach Petaway, and Charles, I'm in favor of that. But that's Coach Graves. NSU did what has been discussed, and they were given a 16th seed. They should have been a 14 or 15 seed easily.
Right.
Well, I had to easily apart. Yeah. And I saw their coach, Coach Petaway, just giving his thoughts, and he let them have it, what he thought about the seeding. Norfolk State.
Right.
In the
Norfolk
SWAC. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Yeah, they had a couple good non-conference wins. Norfolk State did, and they still ended up getting a 16th seed. And that's brutal, man. That's why I'm not against the play game, because it gives you an opportunity to play against. Most of the time, it's a school of your size.
Mm-hmm.
The budget, your budgets are closer. When you go up against a school that pays more for their men's basketball program than your entire athletic budget, you're not gonna get very many. You're not gonna get good results from that, man. So go against light
the conference
budget.
drug them down. The conference drug them down. While
Right.
their schedule was good enough probably to get a 15 or 14, the conference in and of itself drug them down.
Right.
So had they met the other metrics, had the conference met the metrics that was needed, they probably would have gotten a 15 or maybe a 14.
Right.
Yeah,
down year for Central. See, this was a down year for North Carolina Central in the MEAC, and that hurt. That hurt the overall conference RPI.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is where we're at. As a conference, you're having some success individually, but as a conference, it's dragging you down. We're at the point now, at the crossroads. Do we want to continue to go the route that we have been going as far as, playing a lot of these guarantee games and quad one games, or do we want to kind of avoid that? And that's basically where we're at, guys.
Well, I have a question. I have a question for everybody here. And all right, so the SWAC's going to get a generous payday based on what these teams have done, right? So there's a trickle-down effect. The conference office will get a chunk, and it's going to trickle down to all 12 schools. With that money that's coming in based on this, do you think that will go to help our programs to help their budget, help improve facilities, and trying to get more talent? Do you think this will kind of trigger a better result down the road, considering the deep run that we had this year?
Hold that thought. Let's take a break. We kind of stew on that. I could be facetious and say it's going in the general fund. Willa,
In a lot of places it is.
I'm gonna go on your expertise on. Well, Will, you're laughing, but I'm serious.
Yeah,
You know,
he knows it.
Show me. You know, EA is talking about we got to get that money. That I understand that part, but will we see?
You gotta look.
Will we see dividends?
Formula, Carlos. You gotta look at the formula. You know, I'm talking about in terms of the conference. You know, does the school that participated get 50%? The conference gets 20%, and the other 30% is trickled down to the rest of the schools. You know, so you got to look at whatever that formula is, and then try to figure out some things from there. Because everybody's not getting an equal share. You know, naturally the team that participated is going to get the lion's share.
As they should.
But then the conference is going to get a percentage just for the conference, and then there's going to be a percentage that goes to each of the basketball playing schools. You know, so I mean, when you look at it overall, Carlos, it ain't gonna be a whole hell of a lot, you know, when it's all said and done. When you talk about the trickle down for the individual schools, it's not gonna be a whole hell of a lot.
That trickle down concept, where have I heard that before? But on that note, let's take our first time out. When we come back, it'll be more of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, the panel. Before we get back to Charles, he brought up a question. Southern University women's basketball season ended yesterday, 84-46 to UCLA. But it was a historic season. Very proud of Coach Funchess, staff, and players. You fought hard. Regular season championship, SWAC tournament championship. So the future looks bright. And Willa, we're gonna come back to our AD thinking cap session. Where do we go with when you have such successful seasons? And look, don't tell me they're paid to win, so that's what they're doing. We know that, but we got to sweeten the deal for them a little bit. But we'll come back to that. Charles, you had you brought up a question of about that's what I said. We don't need to play 8 to 10 money games each year. But Willa probably will fire me on that one. Go ahead, Charles.
Well, I mean, just to even add more context to it. So when you're coming up with your budgets prior to the year, you're not budgeting for the fact that a SWAC team, is going to make it to the NCAA and you get that money. Someone is, and so that's not budgeted when you're setting up your budget 6 months in advance. So the question is that if you're the AD of whatever school and that money's coming into the conference, it trickles down to your school, do you put a lot of it in the men's basketball or whatever sport that produced it? I know you got to disperse it around, and I know this time of year it's kind of tough with the revenue sports pretty much done. How do you make it make sense in terms of taking care of the sport that helped bring it in and take care of the rest of the sports that you have to take care of?
Well, you know what, Charles, the majority of us are already in a deficit to begin with. So those extra dollars that are coming in are almost just going towards to help them take care of that deficit that you're already in. So I mean, I don't know of any school, especially in the SWAC. I mean, they're going to make the budget zero out because a lot of times it's the state law or what have you, that they have to make it zero out. But the majority of the schools are in the red regardless. So anything extra that comes in is pretty much just icing on the cake and going towards eliminating some of that red.
Yeah. Boy, and that will again.
And that's just, I mean, it's sad to say, Carlos, but it is. They're robbing from Peter to pay Paul. You getting money from auxiliary services and all that sort of thing. To try to finish out the year, try to finish out, the season and all that sort of thing. So, I mean, any extra dollars that come back, they pretty much already spoken for. So I don't think it's almost any school that says that, we got a couple $100,000 to play with because we got this extra NCAA money coming in or what have you. We can move this here, move that there, that sort of thing.
So, Willa, what happens if, let's look in the crystal ball that you can't get all of these guarantee games?
If you
don't, what happens?
That's a good question, Carlos. Then you're going to have to start making cuts. Whether it be sports or whether it be, coaches or whether it be scholarships or, somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to have to pay. The programs are the one that's going to be on the short end of the stick.
So again, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you don't play any, but I'm just in my opinion.
Where can you afford? Let's just throw this out there.
Remember, we talked about a medium.
Let's just throw a hypothetical out there. Let's say you used to bringing in, you mandate your men's basketball bring in $1 million a year. Just throw the number out there. Okay. Now, for the sake of parity or wanting to do this or wanting to do that, you want them to bring in 500,000. You, as the athletic director or the lead administrator, going to have to go through that budget somehow, and see where can I do without $500,000 that normally I would have in that particular year. What is it that I can do to help lessen the blow from that 500,000 that I'm not going to get now because I'm trying to work this other formula out to do this, that, and the other. And while it seems like an easy task, believe me, it's not. And Willie, you are correct. The AD has to help raise more money. There's no doubt about that. Okay, but I don't know of an AD out there on our level, okay, that's bringing in that kind of money. Just the AD themselves. It ain't happening.
He needs help.
Yeah, he needs help.
He needs
that
help.
old adage, Carlos, it take money to make money?
Mm-hmm.
You got to add the staff necessary in order to be able to get out there and beat on those doors and all that. That takes money. You got to pay these people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the example, the basketball example.
The AD can go out there and do it alone? You're kidding yourself. Stop it. Stop the madness. Yeah. It ain't happening.
Yeah. Well, the basketball example that we can use, and we've talked about it on this show before, was Jackson State. Mo Williams wanted more for his program. He goes to A.D. Robinson and says, I need more for my program. So what does A.D. Robinson says? You bring me $750,000, anything over that, you keep it. He brought in $1 million in guarantee games. So that other $250 is going back to Mo Williams' program for whatever he needs, equipment, whatever. And that's the tough part. I mean, and I think a lot of our schools are doing that. I think Jackson State bringing in $1 million. I'm sure Texas Southern's bringing in $800,000, if not more than that. And they get to keep all that money or most of it. And so for us, it's a budgetary thing. And I talked about it last week. The guarantee games we had this past season, those games were put into a fund, and our budget is set up for next year, starting July 1st, for the next head coach. And we'll see what that looks like, and we'll see what the next head coach believes in terms of philosophy, in terms of scheduling. I'm sure A.D. Robinson is going to try to push getting some guarantee games, to help bolster the budget. But that's kind of how we do it. Everyone else does it a little bit differently, but kind of along the same parameters. And so basketball you bring in $1 million, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of wear and tear, though. I mean, so they're just not handing you a check. You got to work for it. You're going to play for it. You're going to travel for it. It's a lot over a 2-month period that you're putting your student athletes through.
And Charles, your AD right now is in an advantageous position because, as you stated before, 9 times out of 10, he's going to pay the next guy less money than he paid Bussie. So he's going to try to exhibit some savings there. He's going to have this guy probably maybe play a few more guarantees than Bussie had to play, so he's going to save some dollars there, that sort of thing, or, gain, some monies, through that avenue, that sort of thing. So, he'll probably hire a D2 guy or something like that, somebody that's not used to as much from a resource point of view, and be able to sell that notion of, this is what we got to work with, this is what we got to do, so forth and so on. And like Ashley did, he took care of Mo Williams on the flip side by giving him a contract extension, that sort of thing, gave him more years, took the pressure off, so it's easier for me now to bring in that $1 million, if I know that it's not going to affect me contractually, because I'm helping the department out, that sort of thing. So, one hand washes the other, that sort of thing. And, we gotta take care of folks.
Well, by show of the chat room, if you're happy with how things are, let us know in the chat room. you want to see better, but as I stated earlier, I'm not gonna hold my breath. It's where we are right now, and I think it's gonna continue to be that way. So, don't complain about getting a higher seed, because as a conference, you're not going to get it done if you continue the way you're going now. And I understand, I don't like it, but if they're asked to bring in X amount of dollars, they're going to continue to do it. And then when the conference play comes, hey, we'll try to get excited. Some of us will have decent records. Majority of us won't. But hey, it's not about the non-conference. It's about winning the conference tournament. And now, not even the regular season.
When you go to get that next job, Mr. Coach or Miss Coach or what have you, I hope that when you go to get that next job, that you get into the interview process and you are allowed to explain why your record is what it is. Because you'll get some of these ADs that's just looking at resumes, that sort of thing, and they'll look at the overall record, and you might not get to the next round because your record has already exemplified that you obviously can't get it done.
You'll just say, I put an asterisk by my resume.
Yeah, you need to.
I help.
There's no doubt.
I helped the athletic department get those dollars in there.
Need to make it clear. Make it clear. There's no doubt about it.
Well, good luck on that one.
You got that right.
Yeah, we lost Coach Pettaway. Hopefully, he'll join us back and continuing on basketball. And there's Coach Pettaway back. And I see in the chat room some say what would be a good amount of guarantee games. I've stated that previously, 3 to 4. Let's just say round it off to 4.
Not gonna happen.
Well, they asked me what I thought, and I'm telling you, okay.
I know.
Okay, but
I tell you what, Carlos, 4.
Wait a minute. I know I'm in the minority. You could play 10 or 12. Damn, non-conference games get guaranteed, but don't raise your voice when you're in the play-in, and then some of the coaches like play-ins.
I agree.
It is what it is. So
at least 5, Carlos. At least 5.
No, go ahead and let them play 10. Let them play 12. Go ahead. It's all about bringing the money in. But
I'll take you halfway, Carlos. Give me halfway.
What is halfway?
Give me 5. Meet me halfway.
5 to 4. That's only one game difference. Let's make it 8. Let's make it 10.
If you're gonna play 5, Carlos, if you're gonna play 5 and bring in the type of money, you better play. Who are the number 1 seeds right now? Auburn. You'll have to play at Auburn. The number 1 seeds in each region, you got to play those because you're gonna probably get 100, 110, 90. Okay. That's $360,000 for playing those teams. Now, the bigger the teams, the bigger the budget, the bigger the guarantee. You aren't gonna play a Stephen F. Austin and get 95 when you can play a Michigan State and get 110.
Pull the kids out of class for a week and run the West Coast.
Coach Pettaway,
that's what you're gonna have to do.
Our mindset.
USC, UCLA.
I don't understand it. Coach Pettaway.
Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke. You play those 6 games, Carlos. Duke, North Carolina, UCLA, Florida. Florida's the number 1 seed, I believe. You play the top 4 seeds in each region. You add Kentucky. You add maybe a couple of more with big budgets. The budget's made. You don't have, that's $700,000 right there.
Come on,
just for those 6 games, right there.
Bloody and bad.
0-6. 0-6, and then we'll try to, I guess, play a group of teams on our level, like the Austin
Yeah.
Peas, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Um, then we might play
Austin
a
P will
game or
probably play
two.
you home and home. Austin P will
Yeah.
probably play you home and home. The guarantee they may give you, if they give you one, they may say, look, let's play home and home, which you would benefit because you're playing at your place. Your guarantee is you filling your arena. You pack the F&G Clark Center, that's your guarantee right there. But when you go to Austin P, they're gonna have a few thousand there, and they're gonna make a couple of pennies off of that. But you need to make a couple of pennies when Austin P comes to Southern University.
I'm not gonna change my mind. I'm not gonna change my mind. I mean, even if it goes back to doubleheaders on Saturdays and Mondays, we look at the attendance this past year. Coach Pettaway, certain schools did well. Southern University and Alabama A&M. Can they do better? Yeah. So let's throw that out. But I still say it's a correlation.
Yeah.
It's a correlation. When your team comes into conference season 2-12, 1-10, it is no excitement. But we'll give them the old across the shoulders. They took one for the team. Oh, unbelievable. Do we have Coach Pettaway back? If not, let's move on.
He's in a state of shock.
Yeah, well, I think he's having Wi-Fi. I mean, seriously. Dr. Cavill says the question is not whether or not, how. The how is out there. The blueprint's out there, but they're not going along with it. As we can state, March 22nd at 11:49 a.m. Central Standard Time. It is what it is. So we're gonna move on. I'm gonna have my sign at the F.G. Clark Activity Center saying, "Hey, we took one for the team." So now we just got to win the regular season. Yeah, actually, you don't. Tournament championship, right? And then you get in. You get in. Landon Bussie. A lot of conversation about that. Leaving Alcorn State. Some notes, some words, a lateral move. I've had people say Coach Bussie never adjusted. He's a city guy into a rural area. You have different objectives, different sayings, different words about Landon Bussie. But I will say this. He was an outstanding coach. He did a great job at Alcorn State. Now he's moving on to Chicago State as a head men's basketball coach. So, personally, I wish him well. I really do. He just seemed to me, from the outside looking in, he just seemed frustrated. And there are probably some things behind the scenes as far as support, resources, all of that. It can be frustrating. But so now he's going to Chicago State. He'll be in the big city limelight. But Willer, you spoke to me about everything that glitter is not gold. That's about the nicest.
And I will say this. Carlos, and I wish Coach Bussie all the best. No doubt about that. He's a Baltimore boy like myself, that sort of thing. So, it kind of hits a little bit closer to home, pretty much because of that. But like I always tell all young coaches, it's not about the next job. It's about the job after the next job. So because you know that the next job is not going to be your last stop. You pretty much know that, if you're a young coach. And so you want to make sure that the next job will propel you to the job after that. And so you need to be mindful of the situation that you put yourself in for that next job, because that next job will determine your trajectory in terms of the job after that. And so, like I was telling a football coach that shall go unnamed, when he was looking to move on from a school I was at a particular time, to another school, I told him I didn't think that was going to be the trajectory that he ultimately wanted to go in, because it wasn't going to be the kind of job that was going to propel him upward. It was a job where the resources weren't where they needed to be, that sort of thing. Sure, there were some advantages, and the salary was decent, that sort of thing, but the infrastructure wasn't what was necessary in order to reach that next level, in order to prepare yourself to that following job.
Mm-hmm.
So while it may seem like it's glittering right now and it's gold, to me it was like fool's gold. So you want to think long and hard and be wary, of whether or not that position is going to be able to propel you to the next position.
Charles, was it frustration as far as with Coach Bussie? I'm from the outside looking in. I don't know. It just seemed
No,
he wasn't happy.
I don't think it was frustration. No, I mean, he wasn't happy because of the play on the court, more so than what was going on behind the scenes. Coach Bussie, from my understanding, made a pretty good penny when he was there. He got the contract, he got the escalators. He was, from my understanding, the money part of it was fine. I just think that he wanted to get this program to the maximum level. And the maximum level in this conference is obviously winning the regular season, which he won 2. He was coach of the year twice. He's been to 2 NITs. But what was the one fish that was missing? He didn't win the SWAC tournament. And that's all he talked about. Like, he said last year, I don't care if the tournament's in the parking lot. He didn't care whether the tournament was in Atlanta. He just wants to get in position to win that SWAC tournament. And so that's what's missing on the resume. He squeezed all the lemons he could and made really good lemonade. But there's a lime sitting on the table that he couldn't put a knife into, which meant that he couldn't win the SWAC tournament. He got there. He got to the championship game. Texas Southern was in our way. But that was the frustration, the fact that, and at times, the team wasn't buying into what he was selling as far as a basketball coach is concerned. I mean, the fans liked him. There were some out there that I talked to that just didn't like all the yelling and screaming and which he was. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But former basketball players at Alcorn that I've talked to have told me they would have loved to have played for a guy like Landon Bussie, because he's as a baller, as a hooper, he gonna squeeze the most out of you, and that's on the defensive end first. So I think the frustration wasn't with necessarily Alcorn. I mean, I do think from an administrative standpoint, we went through some transitions. He's worked with 3 different athletic directors. Now this is the second president. I don't think that had a whole lot to do with it, but I just think this was just an opportunity for him. Chicago State's athletic director was the former AD of external operations, I believe, at Prairie View.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these coaching hires, ladies and gentlemen, are relationship hires. Whether it's president, provost, coaches, ADs, high school, some of these coaches, some of these hires are relationship related. So obviously Bussie had a relationship with the AD now, who was the previous AD at Prairie View of external operations. There was probably a relationship there. And so I think it just, for Bussie, was a good opportunity. And look, I wish him the best of luck. He was great here. I mean, if you look at his record, his first year, 2021, was a COVID year. He was 6-7. Well, we can judge that, but COVID, there was a number of games canceled because of COVID. But then the 4 years after that, 14-4, 15-3, 13-5, and 11-7. You add that up, that's 53-19, 2 regular season titles, 2 NIT appearances, coach of the year twice. I mean, if you want to judge the SWAC record, you can't beat it. I think any AD in this league would love to have a coach that did what he did during that 4-year window.
And Charles, I would say that you are exactly right with what you have just said. So there's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. I will say this. If he goes to Chicago State and he has 3 years of sub 10 win seasons, you can erase everything else that you've just said in terms of trying to propel yourself to that next job. Those 3 years at Chicago State will drag away any and all gains that he made. The 2-time coach of the year, so forth and so on, that sort of thing. I look at some of these other coaches, who are out there who don't have head coaching jobs right now. The first thing that comes to mind with me is Fobbs, the ex-coach at Grambling.
Well,
No
yeah.
reason why he should not be a head coach right now. Now, I don't know if he's applying or what have you, that sort of thing. The work that he did at Grambling, I thought was nothing short of remarkable, definitely worthy of moving on and becoming a head coach again. But he's spinning wheels in the mud, that sort of thing. Can't get any traction to the point now where I would think somebody like Tennessee State would jump in that direction, that sort of thing. You're not hearing his name at all. For any of the jobs that have transpired or that opened up, even like when the Prairie View job opened up, didn't hear his name. For any of these jobs opened up, did not hear his name. So it's almost like, you can kind of go into oblivion. Now, I understand 85 to 90% of these hires are relationship hires. And AD pretty much not going to hire nobody cold that he or she don't know, or that don't know somebody that don't know somebody, that sort of thing. So all of these hires, you can say pretty much are going to be relationship hires. But even with that, there comes a point in time where, what's on that paper has got to be able to speak for you, has got to be able to stand up for you so that you can take that next step. So I'm hoping Coach Bussie has had that frank conversation with the girl at Chicago State. Obviously, like you said, there's some relationship there, that sort of thing. Hope he was able to be frank with her in terms of infrastructure, in terms of direction, in terms of the things that he's going to need in order to take that program to the next level. Hopefully everybody's on board and he's able to go in there and do the things that we know that he's capable of doing.
Let me ask this, Charles. So if I'm hearing you right, he was basically frustrated about this past year or several years, because he's had success on the court, and he has a right to leave if he feels that's what he should do. But was frustration about this team of this year?
Yeah. He told me, and it's for public display. I interviewed him. It's on social media. It's on my page and all that. In September, he said this was going to be a work in progress. He said that with all the players that he lost, he hired a bunch of new assistant coaches. He brought one back for the second time. So this was going to be a work in progress. He said it. And in non-conference, it was frustrating. There were a couple of games out there that we had a chance to win, South Alabama and Rice. And then, the first game against Jackson State at home, we lost. We blew a lead late. He was crying. He was in tears. And I think he hit the wall with this team right then, because it was the rivalry. He had 2 weeks to get ready. And so I think he expected this team to be a little bit more further along. But then we kind of pieced it back together. The Southern University lost 74-69. That was the toughest game we played all year in terms of toughness from wire to wire. So you felt bad that you lost, but you felt good that the toughness was coming around, which is Landon Bussie. And then we kind of took some steps back. And then really, I think, I was reading something, or I heard something, Kansas lost in the NCAA tournament. And one of the players was asked about their season. They said, what, we really lost the identity of our team when Houston came to Lawrence and beat us. I think the identity of our team was really taken aback when we lost that 20-point lead to FAMU. I think at that point, we kind of hit a point where we just didn't get that team back. We tried to piece it together, but we couldn't get there. And I don't think we ever got back there, from that point. So I think the frustration of the year, but I think he knew it was going to be a tough year. I don't think he knew it was going to be that tough of a season for him. And then losing a lead against Bethune-Cookman in the first round of the tournament kind of added the icing. So it was a tough year all year. It was a tough year all year, but a lot of coaches, a lot of people have told me, and I think Coach Pettaway as well, that this was Landon Bussie's best coaching year. And I've learned something about that too. Like when you're a head coach and you got all the good pieces, the Jeremiah Gambrels and the Jeremiah Kendalls of the world, and the pieces we had, if you're a good head coach, yeah, you're gonna make it better. But to me, it seems like when you don't have all the pieces, when you don't have it all together, and you can still coddle it together and make a respectable season out of it, that's when you really get judged as a coach. And a lot of people told me in Atlanta, this was Landon Bussie's best coaching job. 11-7, it was tough, but that's the judge. So I don't. He was unhappy with the way the season went. Fans loved him. They loved his toughness. Some were frustrated with the yelling and all that, but he was just trying to get the most out of his team. And I think he was able to do that. And I wish him the best at Chicago State. But now the question's going to be here, Carlos. There's a number of people called me about the job. I just refer him to our athletic director. What's going to be the next coach? Is it going? And I guarantee you, it's going to be coaches from high school, JUCO, former assistants. One assistant in the SWAC has contacted me. Want the AD's number. So this job people want because of the success, because it's all core to the fan base, and we'll see where our administration comes up with.
But you know what, Charles? From an administrative point of view, I got to meet with my coach on the regular, especially if I know that he or she is feeling some kind of way about how the season is progressing, that sort of thing and stuff. I gotta open that line of communication. It's gotta be open, and it's gotta be frequent. We gotta sit down and have those heart-to-hearts on a regular basis. I gotta see how he or she is feeling and, let them know the direction and, the whole 9 yards, and I can't say that has not happened, but Bussie, to me, from the outside looking in, appears to be that kind of guy that, that lead administrator needs to sit down with on a regular and, just take the temperature of things and, see where he's at, give him some words of encouragement, give him some words of wisdom, the whole 9 yards and everything else that kind of goes with that. Especially if you have an administrator that has coached before also, and that has probably been through a lot of the things that he's been through, so they can relate with him and understand how he's feeling, that sort of thing. It's just got to be that closeness there between that administrator and that coach, to where these things are open and honest and, the temperature is what it is. If it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, let me Charles, answer my call, please. We have Coach Pettaway back, but we also have Coach Johnson waiting, so I don't want him to have to wait too long. So we'll bring in Coach Johnson, head men's basketball coach at Southern University. And as he come in, Coach Pettaway, I would say this to me, Coach Pettaway, this past season would make me want to stay even more, to get the job done. I wouldn't be so as frustrated. I understand you can be frustrated about this past season, but my goodness, my spirit, I'm coming back, and I'm getting better. I'm gonna get this team back to where I had it at first. Then I would leave. Or if it's a better
well, the other thing you can look at too now, Carlos, maybe this was always a stepping stone for him. Maybe Alcorn was not the end result. I mean, wasn't the end thing for him. Maybe he was using Alcorn to get his foot in the door for something else. So you might want to look at it that way. But I'm one of the people that said that Coach Bussie this was probably his best job, because when you look at the
Mhm.
talent that they had, there's no way he's supposed to be 11-7. He should have been worse than that. I just thought he did an outstanding job of what he had.
He
He's
did.
restructured the way he did things to blend in with the talent that he had. This team was not. This team did not have. I'm not. This is not one of his most talented teams. Let me just say it that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But they did.
And I
But
thought he did an outstanding job.
Way
they
you
did a good job.
you brought up a good point, and I think this is something that we all need to think about for young coaches. You talked about it. I think the days, and this is just in society in general, younger coaches are not staying in places 10 years anymore. You know, when they feel like when a good
Right.
opportunity comes or a better opportunity, they see it, they're going to take it. I mean, you know, Coach Pettaway was at A&M for a long time. I've been here for a long time. I think, you know, younger coach like Landon Bussie, this was his first head coaching job. He saw the opportunity, he took it, and look, it's a gamble. It's a gamble to stay. It's a gamble to go. And so you feel like you can take that gamble. And yeah, we'll see what happens at Chicago State. I think they're going to give him time to build it, just like we gave him time to build it. And I think with that, I mean, unless he goes 1-28, 2-27, I think he'll be fine. I think the AD there is going to give him time to build it in a very methodical manner. I think it's not like Kentucky where you got to walk in the door and win the SEC. I think at Chicago State, he's going to be given time to build it. He's got to tear it down and build it in his own vision. And I think after that, after 3 years, let's take a look at it and see.
On that note, let's bring in Coach Kevin Johnson. Coach Johnson, where you at?
Good afternoon, guys.
There you go, Coach Johnson. Wow.
Hey, Coach.
Morning.
How you doing? How you doing, Coach Johnson?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Blessed, man. Happy to see you guys. Man, I don't get a chance to see you often, but I love the conversation you were having. I like where you were going, man. Coach Bussie's an outstanding coach. I think the one thing you guys may or may not have mentioned, but the athletic director at Chicago State, Dr. Monique Carroll, she's a very impressive lady. She reached out to me about 4 years ago, I think, in regards to her vision there. But there was a relationship between her and Coach Bussie. I think they had worked together before.
That's good.
Anyway, you know, there's only 361 of these jobs, and Coach Pett, you know how hard they are to get. So I'm sure Alcorn's going to replace him with a viable candidate. So great discussion, though. Great discussion. But before we jump in, I got to give a shout out to my boy Carlos Funches and the Lady Jags for the job they did, man. What an incredible season, and just so proud of them. And boy, he had a really good team, and that's going to be inspiration for me because I'd love to have been in his shoes, but he did a great job this year.
Well, Coach Johnson, I'm sorry. Your season was just as good, in my humble opinion. 20 wins.
Right.
Regular season championship, to me, Coach, that still means a lot. Although I may be in the minority on that.
Yeah.
You know, it's something called a tournament championship. You had, 2 starters basically out for the year, potential starters.
Right.
But just to me, it was a very, very good season, and we can see the program where it's trending, where it's going in 2 short years. So I just want to publicly say, you know, congratulations to you and your staff and your players, the toughness. You didn't have a score that scored 20 points a game, but you had 18. And they were tough, and I enjoyed watching them.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You know, in 35 years of coaching, this was a very special team because of that. I think this may be the first time I've ever been associated with a team that didn't really have a standout superstar. I mean, our leading scorer averaged 11 points a game, and most of the year we didn't even have a guy averaging double figures, and that just doesn't happen often. But I'm proud of these guys for what they accomplished. It was, in my opinion, though, it was just the second step And we got to keep building, man. We got to keep working and keep grinding, adding to the culture and adding to personnel.
Yeah, Coach, I just want to say, while his internet is still up, I'm so proud of you and the job that you and your staff did and your players. You all had an outstanding season. I just think this is just the tip of the iceberg, because you've shown in 2 years that you can get things going, and you all had an outstanding season. Don't let anyone or anything take anything away from what you all accomplished this year. It was a pleasure to watch your team play. It was a pleasure to watch you coach. And I just wish nothing but the best for you, Coach.
Coach, I really appreciate that coming from you, a guy who's, you're a dean of coaches and what you've accomplished there. But I never forgot what you said, last year, first year in that tournament. He said, you told me you had to have some depth. And I was committed to making sure we had it. And I think we had the deepest team in the league. So I think that's what allowed us to be successful in the regular season. So I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And Coach Johnson, I believe Coach Johnson, Coach Pettaway and the panel, I saw a stat that Southern University led the nation in bench scoring this past year. So that was outstanding as well. Coach, regular season champions, 20 wins. What's the outlook? What are some of your needs? And when we text each other, you said there's still more work to be done.
Sure.
So what do you need as far as player wise going into next season?
Yeah, you always want to be in the market to upgrade your talent, right? But I want to be really careful about the pieces we add. I do want to upgrade at several positions, but man, I want great character too, because I think that's one of the things that allowed our team to play this year with so much connectivity and really through the difficult times to be able to stay together. I think we had some guys with excellent character. And so as we move forward, we want to improve our talent, but we want to continue to add some high character guys. So that is the next step, for us.
Mm-hmm. And Coach, we have some Southern Knights that was in the chat room. They love the 6'9", 6'10" guys, the big guys. But I tell them you try to get the best players available. Everybody's not fortunate enough to get a 6'11", 7-foot guys. But rebounding, I know at the end of last year you talked about getting better with that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you got better rebounding. Yes. Free throw shooting. Shaquille O'Neal say I hit him when it counts. and I know these things are taught and going over in practice. But sometimes, as Coach Pettaway said, you can do those things, and then in the moment,
right,
it doesn't work out. But your wing players, 6'7", 6'6" guys and big guards, are those something that will be available to you?
Yeah, I kind of like playing with bigger guards. We had a win earlier in this year where we beat Tulsa on the road, and I talked with Coach Conco after that game. He said, he didn't realize that our guards had the size and strength that they did coming into the game, because that's something you couldn't really see on tape. But I like bigger, stronger guards. I love attacking. I want to play downhill, but there's still a lot of areas we can improve. You mentioned free throw shooting. So when I look at the overall free throw shooting of the team we put on the floor last year, it was a roller coaster at best. Now we were 15-15 in our last game, but that wasn't typical. And so when you lose 3 league games by 1 point, and you have a team that shot together in the high 60s from the line, that's not acceptable to me. So I know that's an area where, we have to try to improve.
Yeah. That was big because we mentioned it, 3. I mean, it may have happened before. I just can't remember.
Right.
In this conference, 3 losses by 3 points. Goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Charles, I'm sure you have a question or two, a comment for Coach Johnson.
Well, I have a comment, Coach. Congratulations on the season that you had. A deep team, a tough team. I remember going to Baton Rouge, 74-69. And that was the toughest game that we played all year, really. That Southern game, wall to wall, we just wouldn't go away. Your team had a big shot, and obviously you were tested during the regular season. One of the last interview I did with Landon Bussie, and this is something every coach is going to have to deal with. He said that basically this offseason you got to re-recruit your guys because of NIL and because of everything. Is that something that you're going to have to continue to do here as you continue to retool this roster, add, subtract, multiply? Going in, you're gonna have to re-recruit these guys and keep selling them.
And so you're exactly right, Charles. So the portal's on fire. My guys check 5-6 times a day. I think the number right now is 287. It's going to be at 1,000 before the end of Monday, I promise you. But you have to do that. I know last year at the end of the season, I kind of did what most coaches do typically. You have an end of season meeting, and then you talk about guys finishing off the semester strong academically, and then you talk about self-improvement. Well, this year, I'm going to have ongoing meetings with these guys. And so I have already met with the entire team on an individual basis. And guess what I'm going to be doing next week? In addition to combing the portal, I mean, we're going to keep dialogue going with them because what you said, you have to re-recruit your guys. And it's not that they had a bad experience. It's not that we didn't win. It's just kind of the lay of the land today. And you got NIL agents out there hitting your players up all year long saying, hey, I can do more for you. Hey, what are you getting? I can do this. I can do that. And so it's just a sign of the times. Young men are going to explore that. So it's something we got to deal with. I don't like it. It didn't used to be that way, Coach Pett, but we got to deal with it.
Right. And then the big thing is that the more success you have on the floor, that gives other outside coaches and people more opportunity to come after your kids because they see the success that you've had with them. They want them in their program. And then that leads me to this. I'm going to say this, Coach, for you, for all the coaches out there, for the fans and alumni, if you're really in tune to your program and you want your team to be successful, then buy into NIL. These coaches in these leagues need NIL money to compete with the other people. That's the name of the game now. And a lot of coaches, they're having a hard time keeping these kids there because other people are just coming in and offering them things that some of these institutions can do. But it's going to come from the alumni and from the fan. They're the ones that got to open up their pockets and make sure that these programs have what they need in order to keep these kids on these campuses.
That is, look, Coach, that is 100% correct. I know the guy who started most of the year at center for us is in the portal, and he's got Conference USA, Mountain West schools offering him, $75,000, $80,000. Well, I know we don't have that, right? And so if that's what's important to you, then you probably ought to do that. But the way I look at the flip script. I look at that guy that played center for Alcorn this year who was undervalued, under-recruited, and to me, he was the best big in the league. So now I got to go find another guy like that. So it's a challenge, man, but that's just a sign of the times.
Yes, sign of the times, whether you like it or not. Coach Johnson, I could say more about that, but I better not. It's a family show. It is the business. And that has been a topic on the show. And, I love Coach Pettaway to death. He kind of at least tries to keep me grounded in some of these situations. Now, we also talk a lot about conference schedules, non-conference schedules. We know in the regular season, it's important. Next year, all 12 teams are going to be in the SWAC tournament championship. That's very interesting. I'll use that word for me. You have any thoughts on that?
It is interesting. It's different because I'm used to, hey, look, you got to earn your way to the tournament. And so now you go back to you include all 12 teams. And so now you have a team that could have a a bad record, a losing record, they could get hot for 3 games, and then all of a sudden they're 5-26, and now they're in the dance, and then they represent you in the tournament. I was okay with 10. This is going to be a little bit different, but it just opens up the possibility for something like that to happen.
Also, Coach, we've and appreciate your candor on that topic. Also, these non-conference games. Coach Funches sent me a text message. He said, "I know you love the regular season championship, but the non-conference games scheduling." Coach Johnson, what does Coach Johnson believe is a good balanced non-conference schedule? Because Coach, we've had these discussions about a lot of these guarantee games. I personally don't like them, but I guess I'm in the minority on that.
Yeah. And Carlos, like I said, my view is still the same, right? You have to play some of those games. But when you look at our non-conference schedule from last year, and there were some teams in our league that, had lot worse situations than ours, but, we played 10 games on the road, had 3 at home. That's out of balance. You got to try to bring that number into balance a little bit, where if it's not 50-50, maybe it's, 45 out of 100. And I really think if we do that, I think we'll be setting ourselves up for some better conference play, because it's hard, man, to travel. I mean, we went out to California, we were up in the Midwest, and the other thing you risk is injury. Tashawn DeMasi was able to play 8 games in the non-conference, couldn't play a single conference game. Delane Moon was out for the whole year. Mike Jacobs got hurt at USC. And when we started conference play, he wasn't 100%. So when you play a lot of those games and you're out of balance like that, there's always the risk of injury.
Yep. What's that key word, Charles? Wheeler? Coach Pettaway, balance. That's what I said. I'll just leave it at that. It has to be some balance in that. But Coach Johnson, in future seasons, how about some of those geographical games, those quad 2 games? You defeated Louisiana Tech and Tulsa.
Right.
To me, that's a good resume builder for your team. Will you see any more of those type of games if you with your input?
You know what, Carlos, I'm all for it, but here's the issue. You beat one of those teams, and next year you call them and you try to schedule them, you know what answer you're going to get. And we're fighting. So it's going to force us to play some games outside of our region this year, which is not what I want, but we got to fill a schedule. So that's kind of what happened.
Oh, shame on Louisiana Tech and Tulsa. You don't want to play again? Wow, you should want to redeem yourselves. But I understand. But hopefully we'll have that balance schedule. Charles. I'm never going to be in favor of playing 12 of those type of games in a season. That is just not cool at all. But go ahead, Charles. I know you were about to say something.
No. What Coach Johnson just said is about, when the reward is you get these guarantee games and you get all that. The risk is that if you win some of these games, the odds of you going back and playing them again are slim and none. They don't want to, even though they can pay you, they don't want to play you again because that hurts that team too. Now, I mean, you beat Tulsa. Do you think Tulsa's coach took a hit off of that? Sure. So yeah, I mean, some it don't matter, but for some, you beat them, you won't see them on that schedule again. That's I'm not surprised at all, and I didn't even think about it, but that obviously still takes place.
Yeah. And so you
and then the other thing that I'm happy for Jag Nation, you all are back at the top of the conference when it comes to attendance, Coach. That means that they like the product that you put on the floor. And man, it does me good, man, to see Southern back at the top when it comes to attendance in basketball. When Southern basketball is rolling, the people are coming out, and that says a lot about you and your staff and the job that you guys are doing.
And you know what, Coach? That's a great comment, but it's a two-way street, right? So, we lead the league in attendance, and we're 11-1 at home this year. So, if they want us to keep winning, they got to keep coming.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And guess what? And Coach, you can't comment on it, but I will. Stevie Wonder said, "Where was that? Was not a foul at Alabama State game." I mean, but as coaches, you have to, you can't really comment on that. But
Right, right,
a
right.
great home season, and I really wish and hope that more fans will come out. We had someone in the chat room said, "Come on, Carlos. If Austin Peay played Southern, it would be less than 700 fans in the arena." He must be talking about FAMU because that
Yeah,
he's
right.
a FAMU alum. It may have less than 700, but that would be a good game in my opinion, Coach Johnson, if they were to be on the schedule.
Yeah, and look, a credit to the athletic department, AD Banks and his staff. I mean, they have made the home game experience a little bit more exciting, more intriguing. The pyro show at the games. I don't know if
Hmm.
you had a chance to witness that, Charles, but even some of the contests we had, and
Oh
the
my.
half court shot for the money, and it takes things like that. I think
Hmm.
the NBA has got it figured out. The entertainment value there is so high. And so, here we got to do that for our league. We want our entertainment value to go through the roof.
He's right about that. The pyro, my goodness, I could feel the
Well,
heat
Coach Johnson, that heat.
in the stands.
Oh, I was just getting ready to say when they put that heat out there and they put those sparklers out there. I mean, it blew. I think I lost some hair off of that, and they did it twice for the women's game and the men's game. I was telling somebody.
Right.
I was telling by the courtside, man, it is hot. It is hot as fish grease, Carlos. I mean, that thing could you could lose some hair easily. And I don't have any anyway. But I'm
Well, I
just
don't
saying,
either, Charles.
it was an exciting. It was exciting.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah. I mean, I remember that like it happened yesterday. I mean, it was exciting.
Yeah.
and it's part of the ambiance. And one of the things, Coach Johnson, I appreciate it. I think it was a FAMU game at home.
Mhm.
Didn't get off to the liking that you wanted, and that was my first time seeing you in person. The team, and my goodness, they brought in the second unit. And
Mhm.
immediately the tempo picked up, the energy picked up. And before you know it, Southern had an 18-point lead with the second unit in. So
Yeah.
again, back to the depth. And they also say a team takes on the personality of their coach.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of morphed into that. I've been asked this question a lot through the season and the end of the year. Is that your philosophy, Coach? Do you want a platoon sub all the time? And no, it didn't start out that way, right? When we had those injuries, we lose DeLang for the year, Demasi's in and out. Then we figure out he's got to have surgery. We don't have him. We tried to we had to recreate ourselves, and so there wasn't a whole lot of separation in our guys from 1 through 10. All you got to do is look at our stats and see that. I mean, you look at our stats, who are you going to key on, the first four or the second four? Because it might be the same. The second four might be better than the first four. And so we figured that if we played more guys and if we did a platoon type, right, it would cover up some of the deficiencies of the guys who wouldn't play as much. Look at a gentleman like PJ DeBoll, 6'9" wing player, right? Athletic, right? He can make all the athletic plays in the game, but maybe not the toughest, maybe not the most sound fundamentally. So if we're playing an 8-man rotation, he doesn't play. And so we platoon to give more guys an opportunity to get on the floor. And to be honest with you guys, all of a sudden we could look up and we had 110 in a row. And so why quit it? And so that's the way we decided we committed to it and finished the season that way. But we just kind of morphed into that. It wasn't by design.
And Coach, and panel, the young man you're talking about, but I loved him on the defensive end. I saw him take on the hot shooter. Sometimes when you, what was that zone you were playing? I just couldn't figure it out for some reason.
We do a little version of a matchup 2-3. Everybody in the country is doing it right now, and I think it helped change the momentum in a lot of games for us.
Yeah, it did. And Joel, a lot of times seemed like to me he was out on the point on the defense, very long, and he covers a lot of territory. I loved him on the defensive end, and then he brought energy as well offensively. the energy on the offensive side.
You're exactly right. And so, but again, covering up some of his deficiencies with the platoon system allowed him to average double-figure minutes. And, we need him to take a step, in that positive direction next year.
We're visiting with Coach Kevin Johnson. We appreciate the time, Coach. As far as I think we kind of covered everything, but as far as next season, off season, what does that entail for this basketball program? I know you said re-recruiting your players, but what does the off season look like for you guys?
Again, I want to see guys in the off season. I've been very impressed with the individual meetings that I've had with the players. About 75% of them have asked, Coach, what can I do to be a better player? That's what I love. And so we're going to really dial into these individuals and try to improve their games through this spring. And then this summer, we have a summer program that I kind of like what we did last year. And we're just going to keep trying to get better. And like I said, we will add a few more pieces, and we're going to re-recruit our core. I mean, you guys look at Alabama State. So, Matlock has been there 4 years, but the reason they won the tournament, the reason they had success, I think he retained some core guys. And that's what you have to do if you really want to win big. And so, he deserved everything they got, and Alabama State deserved to represent us in the tournament. And we're going in that direction.
Yeah, a lot of postseason success by our HBCUs, and it's a credit to the coaches and the players and the staff. And finally, Coach Johnson, we also talked about in the perfect world, if you can be a 14, 13, 15 seed, but we realize strategically the conference as a whole has to kind of upgrade their non-conference play, and thus that again goes back to that balance in non-conference play. But once again, it was a great season, very good season. Congratulations to you, your coaching staff, and your players. And I think the best is yet to come. Year two, Coach Johnson. Hopefully I won't look 3 years from now and say, well, we've got to replace Coach Johnson because he's been so successful and he's moving on. But I won't think about that.
No,
just yet, Coach Johnson.
One day at a time, Carlos. One day at a time.
We love you right here, and we just appreciate you so much.
Happy to be here, and as always, man, love talking to you guys, man. You got me anytime, all right?
All right, we appreciate it. And Coach Johnson, the next coach coming up is Coach Graves. And I know he's going to take a shot about my Miami Heat, but that's all right. Because he's a Knicks fan, but my Heat are in serious trouble.
Yeah, well, look, Coach Graves is going in that right direction, too. Now, I'm looking forward to get out of him now. So make sure you give him the love. I appreciate you guys.
All right, and have a great weekend, Coach.
All right, you too.
All right, Coach, we'll see you in San Antonio. See you in San Antonio.
Looking forward to it. Yep.
All right.
On that note, let me take a break. I got to resend something to Coach Graves, so give us a minute or two. And when we come back, we'll have Coach Graves, and we're going to give him some love. But we're going to tell him not to talk about NBA basketball. How about that? We'll take a time out. Right. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. And there we have him, Coach Graves. Good afternoon, Coach Graves, and welcome to the Carlos Brown Show once again.
Good afternoon.
What's up, Coach? What's up?
How y'all
Coach?
doing?
All
Doing
right,
good,
all
doing
right.
fine, Coach. Doing fine.
Yeah,
boy.
Spring practice started yet?
No, we're gonna officially start Thursday, the 27th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
March 27th. Coach, another year, another spring. Usually we ask what are some of the goals, and we always hear, to stay healthy, to improve. Same situation, spring practice, correct?
Correct, Carlos. The goal is always to come out healthy. That's the number one thing. You always want to be healthy. And then the next thing is we want to make sure that everyone comes out of spring with a clear understanding of what we're doing in all three phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. And we want to improve on we want to get better from the year before. So we really put an emphasis, and we're doing some new things, adding some new wrinkles and things of that nature because, the thing about it, you got to be able to do some different things when you've been in a conference for a long period of time. You got to be able to do some different things to give yourselves a chance to be successful.
We're visiting with Coach Terrence Grace, head football coach at Southern University. And, Coach, I know you lost some players, you add some players. You're recruiting. We talked about that before, wants versus needs. So it sets you up pretty well, I guess, if I can say it that way, for this upcoming 2025 football season and the spring season.
What was that? I'm sorry, Carlos. What was the last part?
Oh, last part. Your recruiting needs, and you address that after the football season. Now it leads up to spring practice. Some important positions that you're going to look at, and far as adding depth and just getting better at.
Oh yeah, definitely. You always want to add depth and experience at the offense and defensive lines. Those are the places. Well, the defensive line, interior wise, we lost. That was probably where we had the biggest loss of seniors. And so with Davin Cotton and Willie Miles and Jelani Davis and those guys. So and then only having one starter on the offense last year, and then we brought back. Those guys got some experience. We played a true freshman, probably for nine games, 10 games. Brian Wallace, and he did a really, really good job for us. So they got game experience. He and Jerron Lewis, who was a redshirt sophomore, played right guard, who wound up playing, and then Juan Gonzalez, who wound up starting at center. So to have those guys get that experience is valuable. And then we went out and we really hit it hard. We hit the junior college ranks really hard to solidify the offense and defensive line. And then we plug and play at some other spots, wide receiver. We lost some guys inside at the safety spots, but that's probably where we were the deepest defensively. So we still have some experience, and we have some age as well as with the youth movement that we have back there. So it's pretty good balance. And at the linebacker spot, we lost Derek Williams, but we still have some experience and some depth there. So and then of course the kicking game, we lost Josh Griffin, so we had to go out and get a kicker. Of course, we signed Zim from Central High School, state championship Central High School here in the area. So we did a really good job. I thought coaches did a phenomenal job of recruiting the local talent. I think out of all the high school players that we signed, I think it was 7. It was 8. I'm sorry. It was 8 high school players, and 7 of those high school players are part of a state championship football team. And then to have Amarian Asbury, the running back from Southern Lab, come right across the street, and he's actually in school right now in January. So he's going to get a chance to go through spring ball, and that'll be huge for him so that he can get adjusted to the college game and go out there and compete. So, to have, like I said, to have guys from the local area and then in the state, thought they did a really good job. They did a really good job of going out and addressing the needs and the JUCOs. And then we had a few Porter FBS guys that we'll bring in. We're not going to build our team basically, solely on FBS transfer portal guys. We're going to do what we know what works for us and what's best for us. So, that's what we did. And I was pleased with what we did with our signing day. And I'll say this, because of the way the rules are set up now, the recruiting is fluid. The recruiting is fluid, as well as, you got a transfer portal that's coming up again in April for football, April 16th. So you just never know. So you always, I'm going to be proactive, and I'm going to always, it's not that old school day where National Signing Day was the final signing class. I'm always looking, and I'm gonna recruit all the way up until kickoff if I can.
It's a continuation with recruiting, just like I mentioned Coach Petaway. I caught that. I mentioned to Coach Johnson about off season. Is really no off season. It's a year round situation. I know Coach Graves probably, if it's not the most question that you get about quarterback play, it's second or third. And talk about that position. I mean, I know of Jalen, he's been on the show several times. But what do you look at as far as that position?
Well, I think we got some good young men in that spot, and Jamari, we got Jamari transferred in um, at quarterback as well. So those guys are gonna battle um, for that starting spot. Those guys work well together. They always seem to be around one another. The thing that I really like about this team is this team is really gelling well together. You see them, you see those guys together a lot. They go to the basketball games, they go to the softball, baseball games, they go to they're doing community service. I can't tell you how much my phone blows up in the group meet because those guys are really buying in and have bought into our philosophy of being champions on the field, off the field, and in the community. Because those guys have the last 2 days, those guys done a great job of getting one another to go and do the national read across America. They've been at middle schools, elementary schools the last couple of days, and this is something that they've taken up on their shoulders. It's nothing that Coach Graves has stood up in front of them this year and said, "Hey guys, this week is such and such." Those guys actually say, "Hey man, when we have our weekly meetings, they say, hey look, we need guys to get ready to go to school on Thursdays and Fridays. Pick the jerseys up at this time. Let's go read to the children at this school. Just this morning, my phone was blowing up because those guys were saying, "Hey guys, go vote. Early voting. It's important." Told them what amendments to vote for and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting here like, wow, I really want to cut my notifications off because I was trying to get me an extra hour of sleep this morning. But to see those guys doing that, and again, this is not something that we talk about those things, but to actually see these young men take it upon themselves to be better than and be champions outside of the football field, that's important, and that's what you want to see as a head coach. You want to see your guys grow and develop as men holistically, spiritually, mentally, physically. You want to see that, and those guys are doing that. And so, hats off again to the assistant coaches because they echo my goal, my vision, my dream for this program. And so, we're excited about seeing those guys doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I have to give you a call, Coach Graves. I know of an elementary school that would love to have you guys, a representative, to come and read and talking about the spirit and the love and the bonding. It was also tough, and I'm thinking of Coach Wallace. His journey and what he meant to the program. As far as that, how can I put it? How did the team address or talk about that? Because I know it's a tough situation. We all have lost loved ones, but what Coach Wallace meant to the Southern University football program.
Well, there's not enough time to talk about that, but I'll put it in.
I understand.
I'll put it in. I'll put it as time will permit. Sean Wallace and I were really, really close, and to have played against one another and then have coached together on 2 occasions, and families knowing one another and being around one another, as well as the other coaches and staff and the players. It's been a surreal situation because I actually believed with everything in me that the last time we talked, we were talking about getting better and let's get ready for spring ball, and then of course things happen and he transitioned. So for me, it's I know what's happened, but I haven't totally grasped it yet. And so the thing that we did, I'll tell you this, the counseling center on campus does a great job with our students and our student athletes, and they came in on that day and they did a great job. And we constantly, we have some outside sources who does counseling as well. The ministers, the pastors in the areas, they've done a great job of reaching out. And it's been a situation where, we don't, one thing about it, I teach our guys to not allow the world to lie to them. For decades and centuries, they always used to say that men don't supposed to cry and men don't supposed to be this and I tell them all the time, that's why the prisons and the cemeteries are filled up with men that didn't cry and men that are angry and for whatever. And I tell them all the time, Jesus wept and he was the greatest man that ever walked this earth. So it's all right. And crying is a sense of strength, not weakness. And so they understand that. And so, being open and transparent with those guys and we just been leaning on one another, and they understand that, my father used to say something that I never understood when I was young, but as I got older, it made more sense. He always used to say, son, we didn't come here to stay. And he said, we all gonna have a day that we're gonna have to leave here. So we talk about those things and we're very transparent and open. And the thing of it, Sean was Coach Wallace was a tremendous man of faith. He loved God and he exemplified that through his life. And so we know that he's a winner regardless. And so,
yes, sir.
Although, the book says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord for the believer. And so,
right.
So we believe that. And so although he's not here physically, he's here in our hearts and in our memories. And so what we do, when we break up a meeting, we still say Sean Strong, and those things. And we have our moments and talk about what Coach Watt laugh and cry, what have you. So it's going to take some time. But as anything, we know that the competitor that he was, that his thing is, okay, let's go get it. Hey, let's go get it. Yep. So, we're holding on to that, and we certainly continue to keep, his family lifted up, and everyone, just the entire Jaguar Nation, because he was the epitome of a Southern University Jaguar. He was the embodiment of what it was to be a Southern University Jaguar. Sean used to often say, and a lot of people, I don't think they really understood this. Sean used to say he loved Southern University because Southern University saved his life. And he really meant that. And we saw the transformation and the change of Coach Wallace, the player, the man, the father, the leader, the coach, the community leader, and all those things. So we're going to continue to keep his legacy alive, and we're going to continue to do those things that embodied his spirit. So it's a day-to-day process. You take it one day at a time, and and so that's what we're doing. So that's how we handle that, and we'll continue to handle it that way.
And
Coach, just for a minute, I just want to commend you. The Read a Book program. I did that a lot during my career at Alabama A&M. To me, that's one of the most rewarding things that you and that staff can do. Please continue to do that, man, because our kids look up to athletes. They look up to people in the community that they can grasp. Continue to do that, Coach. And I just want to commend you for having your kids out there, you and your staff. You're doing it the right way. That's old way of bringing up the village, raising a child, man. It takes a village, and you're part of that village. So, Coach, I want to encourage you to continue to keep up the good work.
Thank you, Coach. The thing about it is I've been doing community service probably since I was in junior high school. Right. And so it's always been because I was an athlete. And I tell these student athletes and my guys in particular, I say, listen, you have a responsibility and an obligation to those that come behind you. I say, because those little boys and girls, when they out playing and running around, they visualize being you.
Yep.
And so what do you want them to see in you? how you carry yourself. The thing that helped me desire and want to get out of my neighborhood, Park Place in Norfolk, Virginia, was those guys that played at Norfolk State. Those guys, a lot of those guys were from my neighborhood. And those guys, when I had a chance to go on Norfolk State's campus and watch the football, the basketball, the baseball, the track and field events, and those other schools coming in, competing against them, I wanted to be Joe Scott. I wanted to be, I wanted to be Reggie Langhorne. I wanted to be, Harvey Reed, Jimmy Johnson, and the list goes on and on. That gave me the drive and the desire to know that I could make it out of the inner city. So, so what we impart upon our team is, hey, you have a responsibility and obligation to go back into these communities and these neighborhoods and show them that they can do it and they can make it. And those guys, they really love it. They really love it. We have a program that they're going to participate, I think, next month with the special needs children. It's a day where they do the it's similar to the Special Olympics, but they look forward to that. I mean, one thing about this team, they are very selfless. They understand it's bigger than just football. Of course, the goal is always to win championships. That's what we want to do. But we also want to be champions in the classroom, and we want to be champions in the community, because when you do that, then you win in life. And so that's what we preach, and that's what we push. And I tell them, I said, hey, if you don't want to be a champion on the field, if you don't want to be a champion in the classroom, if you don't want to be a champion in the community, you can't play at Southern University. Can't. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good
in the wrong place. Yes, sir.
Or who you related to. You can't play here if you don't embody those three pillars of our program.
There you go.
Well said.
Outstanding, Coach.
Well said, Coach Graves. We have a couple of minutes left.
1
minute. 1 minute. Okay. Only be quick. Coach Graves, when will there be an announcement as far as staff additions? I know you're in the process of adding on to the staff. I guess we'll wait for the official announcement.
Yeah,
once
those guys are, once the staff is in place and they hired and the ink is dried on the contracts, then that's when we'll announce it. And I'll have my staff in place by spring, when the spring kicks off. And definitely, our spring game is April the 12th at 1:00. So we'll have everyone in place and at that time in terms of our full-time people. So that's for sure. We'll know, who those people are, and we'll go from there. So,
well, Coach Graves, I heard through the grapevine that the interest has been overwhelming for to become members of that staff, and I'll just leave it at that. And also, Coach Graves, I appreciate you not bringing up a tough topic. I appreciate that.
We ride the roller coaster right now, so I'm not even going. I'm a little disappointed with the last few nights. You got to keep that killer instinct. All that. Win one, lose two, win one. So I'm not really satisfied with my team right now. So, I can't fool with you, because we got to fix our issues right now. I got to sweep around my own door before I sweep around yours.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't get a text message from the Godfather himself. It's been tough. Coach Gray, we appreciate it. We'll check back with you soon. I guess after spring practice is over. There was someone asked me, were they having a spring game? I said, as far as I know, they are.
Yeah, our spring game is, my spring game is not, I don't get caught up into that breaking the teams up. Our spring game is offense versus defense, because my thing is we need to know what we're doing. So, breaking a team up and putting the ones versus the ones and threes versus the twos and fours. People getting all excited and having that false sense of security going into the fall. Man, that's the quickest way to get your teeth kicked in. So we gonna go offense versus defense, and we're gonna find out who knows what to do, and we're gonna keep scoring. We're gonna compete, and whoever wins, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I think Wheeler Brown, hard on himself, loved that. He loved that, Coach.
Definitely, no doubt.
On that note, we want to thank Coach Graves, Coach Johnson for joining us. Also, the panel, for those in the chat room. I think I have to address a couple of people in the chat room. I just didn't have time to. But, boy, you got to love those FAMU alums. They'll
be all right.
Yeah, they'll be all right. And also,
that's what keeps it exciting and keeps it fresh. I love the banter and the talking. I was telling my team in the meeting the other day, when I was asked a question during the season, how about the going to Jackson and playing in that atmosphere, and I was saying, if you're a competitor, you love that atmosphere and you love to see the bands and you love that as a competitor. If you're a competitor, that's what you want. And do you know I had people sending me emails or all that. Coach, please don't say anything about Jackson at the championship game because you gave them bulletin board material the first game. And well, first of all, if y'all know me, I didn't even respond to that because again, like I told my team, if you are a competitor, you live for those moments. Yep. You live for those environments. You live for that atmosphere. I don't want anybody. And now if you think because I said that gave them extra incentive to win a football game, then clearly you don't understand. And you couldn't have been an athlete because all athletes want to go just like y'all talked about basketball. Our athlete, when he comes out that locker room, he wants to see those guys at Southern. They want to see FG Clark Activity Center packed from the bottom to the top, loud and rowdy, as well as the visiting teams. So the competitors understand that. So I'm gonna always say what I need to say and want to say, and whatever they put on the board. Because at the end of the day, it's the Jimmys and Joes and Mikes and Ikes that got to do the the X's and O's to win. So all that stuff about please don't say this, play the man. Listen, you already beat, and I tell them bring it on, bring it on. W Muffle's gonna rock this year, baby. It's gonna rock.
There you go. There you go.
Because this game's got to be played.
That's right. And I'm looking for certain ones in that chat room. Dr. Karen, EA, all of them. Yeah, but I love them to death. They keep you on your toes and they opinionated, and I appreciate it. Have a great weekend, Coach Graves.
Thank you. You all have a great weekend, and I want to say congratulations to the men's and women's basketball teams on a great season. Bowling team is in the mix right now of winning, trying to win another championship. Golf team's doing well. Softball and baseball are doing well. So it's a great time to be on the bluff at Southern University. And we wish everyone success and go Jags.
That's right. And guess what? Right. The Commissioner's Cup, they right behind that other school, Jackson State. It's a close competition. So, hey, we need all the breaks we can get.
That's right.
It's been a good athletic season. Yeah. Thanks to Roy for producing today's show. We are out until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, peace and God bless.
Go Knicks!